and welcome. This will be the first video that I'm putting up on my channel. I've had for a while. I haven't done anything with. Put up a few crappy AMVs, and that's about it. But being a little bit influenced by a few other YouTubers, I thought it would be a good idea to start putting up some videos. And what better to start with than a video about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because, well, I just love the game, and, well, that's just about it. I've been playing since about 2002, 2003, though in the last few years I've taken quite a big hiatus from playing. So I haven't, I've just now come back in, and a lot has changed, such as rules like the first person who doesn't draw a card now. There can be 2 field spells on the field at once. A few other little things. Oh, and XYZ summons and now pendulums. But I do remember when Synchros came out. Everybody cried, "This is going to wreck the game." But it didn't. It only made the game stronger, really. It put more emphasis on the extra deck. Well, it created the extra deck, and it's no longer just fusions. But let's move along. Pretty much all I'm going to be doing on this channel is a fair some Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of things, like tips I've picked up over the years, some deck profiles, some ideas, but as a good start, I thought I would do a video on what improvements I think could be implemented to the game to make it a better game, more approachable, easier to play. So let's get started with that. So I'm going to start with 5 things that would improve the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I will put in the caveat that this is only my opinion, as it says, and I do fully fully aware that I go into this with all my preconceptions about the game and all my biases, etc. So yeah, let's have fun with this. So now let's start with number 5. This one was probably the hardest one for me to put on the list. I definitely knew I was going to put number 1 to 4 on this list, but I thought, well, a four things list is not really done, so I extended it to have minor card changes. And then I sat down and really thought about it, and I thought, hang on, there are lots of little changes that have been happening over the years, but not to the degree that is needed. Such as clearing up card texts, making cards easier to understand. An idea I have is adding numbers to cards for levels and ranks and speed spells, so if you're unfamiliar with cards, you can at a glance know what level it is without having to count the stars. one of my techniques that I have for doing the finding out a level on a card is to group in my mind the level stars in groups of even numbers. So when it comes to synchro monsters, it's usually 4s, because I make a lot of level 8 and level 7 XYZ synchro monsters. XYZ monsters are so much easier because you don't need to do it. So I have mocked up with the Yu-Gi-Oh card creator a few cards to illustrate my point. The first one I have knocked up is the Sorcerer of Dark Magic, because he's just epic. Locks down all your opponent's traps, but leaves yours perfectly fine. I thought that splitting the card text to say that it is a summoning condition, not part of the effect, would be a good thing, because only recently, after so many years of playing, did I realize, or have been told, that the summoning condition isn't actually an effect that summons the monster. So new cards such as Infernoids, their summoning condition isn't an effect, their effect summoning them. So that kind of threw over a few of my strategies, but it does kind of make sense. But yeah, splitting them like that would be better. And having the spell speed for effects listed after what is the effect. So in this case it would be a 3, because it can be used on counter traps. Yeah. That would, I think, make it much easier. I've also done an XYZ monster. The only reason I'm using Phantom Fortress, aside from anything else, I probably would have used Utopia, but I'd already done up the little icons for level 9, so I had to find a level 9, a rank 9 XYZ monster, which wasn't too hard to do on the Wikia. And now I've actually got 2 homemade spells and traps that to illustrate my point on those cards. But in these with these 2 examples, the having the level there, it doesn't interfere with the picture or anything like that. This is only an idea, so please don't crucify me too hardly. And that wasn't even correct English. Now, these minor card changes, I think, need to happen, because at the moment, with grand whopping effects and all of these kind of things, it can be a little bit intimidating. When I was getting back into it, all of these new monsters that I didn't even know existed, like Necros, Quillhorts, all of these newer sets, like Infernoids, I'd heard them in passing, but it was very hard to get into knowing what their effects are, how they work, because coming into it kind of new again with fresh eyes, I didn't realize that that was such a big problem. Now, let's move on. Yep, moving on. Swift counterattack. I wish these were real cards, but anyway. But this is what I mean, is actually listing what is the cost, what type of effect it is, what spell speed it is. And as you can see on these cards, it does not take up that much room. For cards such as, say, Relinquished or whatever, that have huge card effects, but minuscule writing, it might be a little bit of a problem, but making effects more concise will really help. Like how they've implemented piercing damage as a universal effect, which is listed in the rulebook. I am umming and ahhing a little bit because I'm not really used to doing YouTube stuff. Yes, now, moving on to number 4. Now we're starting with the ones that I had really good ideas with, that I had very solid ideas before I went into making this. Number 4 would be a ground up redo of the format list. Everybody's been saying it online, it's everywhere, that it just needs to be redone. There's a lot on there that in the current game climate doesn't really deserve to be forbidden. And there are obviously some things, looking at you reckoning, that do need to be at least limited. One of the big cards that I would like to see come off is Graceful Charity. I just love that card. Although it is abusable. Very abusable. Now to number 3. Now this one is a long time coming. It's been in the show forever. Is allowed defense mode summons. It would open so many doors to so many decks that could use it, but since they can't now, it pretty much takes them out. Morphtronics is a big one for me. If this rule came in, Morphtronics would see a lot more play. They are a very good deck, but they're hampered by their own effects, and that they're not very strong. They rely on each other too much. But that might be just me a little bit stuck in the past. I think that it would open the door to new card effects. Say, new spells and traps that counter defense mode summons, or only work on attack mode summons, or would mean that any monster summoned in defense mode is put face down. Those kind of things could come out. It just gives so much more to the game than it would take away. Yes, there's probably some cards I don't know about that would be able to abuse this, but it's not too, I don't think it would be that as bad as some people may think. Number 2, silver medal. Now, this is something I've been saying since day one playing this game, is announce your plays. When you play a card, it should be that player's responsibility to inform their opponent of its card effect. Not just play a card and assume they know what it is. If they just assume you know what it is, it can impact the game a lot. It would change what plays they might think to use. For example, if someone's not familiar with marshmallow, for example, I don't know why that wouldn't be, but if they're new, they won't know what the card is. You special summon that in defense mode, and you say, oh, I special summon marshmallow in defense mode. That's it. That's all you say. And then your opponent goes, oh, that looks like a weak monster, I'm just going to attack it. There could be repercussions from other cards for making that action. But because it can't be destroyed by battle, it's a wasted move that they should have avoided. The argument can be made that your opponent should ask for what card effects are, but I think that the burden should be on the player playing the card to make their opponent aware of any card effects that any card has. If your opponent then forgets it and then makes a bad play, then it's on them. Then it is squarely on their shoulders. They stuffed up. I just think that this would make for a more level playing field and make it seem less like an a wall that people can't get over. I'm coming up short with words here. But yes, I think it would just make the game a lot friendlier if it were put in to be a hard and fast rule that you have to announce your plays. If you don't announce your plays, then it also gives time for chain responses. Because if you just go, oh, I'm doing this, your opponent's going to have to say, no, back up 5 moves before you do this. It's just polite. To me, it's just polite to it. Yeah. And it feels like when you're playing someone who announces their plays, and you do the same thing, is that you are kind of having a social thing over the game. That's important to me. Not being a normally very social person, I can use the game to talk to people. Now, let's move on to number 1. Yes, number 1. Now, I will point this out. This is something that I've thought about ever since I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Last 6 months or so, this has been niggling at my mind, and a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but it is a problem. It needs to be addressed, so please hear me out on this. If you've gone in like 19 minutes now of me yammering on about cards and such, a few more minutes of this will probably not be too bad. Let's go on. Oh, a real drum roll. Nice. limit special summons. 5 per turn is plenty. This will discourage that awful culture that has crept in. The idea that if you can't OTK or FTK with a deck, it's useless. I really hate that. Because if you're sitting there and you set up for this big play, and you XYZ summon, you synchro summon, you do all of this stuff, and you're just sitting there for like 5 minutes just doing all of this stuff, bam, and bam, you win. Your opponent may as not be there. It also makes this game really daunting to outsiders. They come on YouTube or on the internet and have a look at some card effects, and then everywhere they go, they're bombarded with FTK, OTK, all these complex strategies. I'm not diminishing that those strategies aren't actually pretty cool and don't take a little bit of brain power to put together, but that mentality, it should be a back and forth game, playing off each other, reversing, and then seeing who can win. That's how the game should be. Competitive. Not just one person's playing by themselves. Because that's what I see competitive play has turned into a lot. Also, it will make each individual turn smaller. More turns, more duels, more matches is better. Also, having someone just FTK you when it's in their first turn, it's really disheartening. You can sit there, you go, okay, I just lost. I'm out of this whole thing because they've done all of this stuff. I'm not able to respond. I'm not able to do anything. Granted, some hand traps can help, but they're not really powerful enough, I don't think, to stop most of it. Because the likelihood is you're going to get one effect failure in your first hand, if you're lucky. But yes, that is the big one. The big one that some people are not going to like. I think limiting special summons to 5 per turn will level the field. It will make the game better and stronger. Also, it will allow Konami to bring out more cards that say, you, while this field spell's in play, you may make 6 special summons per turn. Or lockdown cards that say your opponent may only make 1 special summon, 1 normal summon per turn. Wonderful. New card opportunities. Gotta love it. But that'll be it for this video. If you like what I've done, please comment, rate, subscribe, all of those wonderful things below. But I would like to give a little bit of a shout out. I will, if I can figure out how to, link in the description to XUndergroundMembersX and another YouTuber called AznEyes. Both of them, I have loved their work. It's just brilliant what they've done. And they've inspired me to actually try and give this a ago. So please head on over. If you like them, wonderful. But that's me out.